Good morning, good night, or good evening, whatever time of the day it is you're joining us. This is the Tulsa World podcast slash video slash camp meeting and film festival. I'm joined here by my colleagues Jimmy Trammell and Grace Wood to talk about what we've been investigating for you all in the world of arts and entertainment that we will write about in future issues of the Tulsa World, available at fine newscast or news sellers everywhere, and of course online at tulsaworld.com. We'll head off for the danger zone to start with. Top Gun 2 recently opened, the biggest opening of a Tom Cruise film ever, and I believe you've discovered something uniquely Oklahoman about this film, Mr. Trammell.
Yeah, one of the pilots in Top Gun Maverick is Jay Ellis, who, because of a military background, attended, try to get this straight, 12 schools in 13 states or 13 schools in 12 states, whatever the math is. Anyhow, jumped around a lot, but essentially calls Tulsa home because he went to high school at Metro Christian in Booker T. Washington, and also went to a couple of middle school years in Tulsa. So of all places in the universe, all the places he's been, Jay Ellis considers Tulsa to be kind of home.
Very cool.
What's his role in the movie?
He plays Payback, who is one of the pilots. And I just got off the phone with him maybe an hour ago for a story that will be in Sunday's Tulsa World and tulsaworld.com. We talk about his Tulsa roots, why people seem to love this movie. He had a well thought out answer about that, and just kind of his growing up in Tulsa and some other things about his life. Very, very interesting guy, very squared away.
Did he give you any secrets about Tom Cruise, or?
He said glowing things about Tom Cruise and all the interviews I'd read in advance of my interview. Nothing but the kindest things to say. And so I didn't press him on that, but I did mention that, hey, oh, by the way, Tom Cruise was a puppy when he made The Outsiders in Tulsa back in 1982. And he was aware of that. But really a fun chat, and probably would still be talking if I didn't say, hey, let's cut it off after 20 minutes and go on.
Okay. All right.
I have an interesting anecdote that I just remembered about the movie.
Wonderful.
I saw it on Monday, and there's a scene, I don't want to give it away because it's kind of a spoiler, but there was a scene filmed at my alma mater, Pepperdine. I recognized it immediately, and then I remembered last year when I was still going to school there, I saw it being filmed, and I was so confused because I saw like all of these like military uniforms and things like that, and I was like, because at the time I didn't know they were making a Top Gun sequel. So I was like, oh, what could this movie even be about? Like, that's so weird. It's probably some just like random thing. And then it ends up being like one of the biggest movies of the year. So I had an interesting flashback moment when I saw it on Monday with my
favorite Tom Cruise movie of each of you. What's your favorite Tom Cruise movie?
That is a good question. Mr. Watts.
Well, the ones of I can't confess to seeing all of them, but I've often thought he's at his best when he's not the lead. Like, I thought he was amazing in a movie called Taps about a military school sort of going down on lockdown and holding
Before The Outsiders.
It was before The Outsider.
Yeah.
But if I had to pick one, I'll say the one that I've seen more than once has been Mission Impossible. So the original Mission Impossible. That one, I thought, if I had to pick a favorite Tom Cruise movie, that's going to have to be it.
Okay. Grace?
I'm going to have to go with Rain Man. I really love that movie. And I feel like people I kind of forgot that he was in it until you brought up that question just now, and I was thinking about it, but I really love that one. I need to rewatch it.
Filmed in Guthrie. you know?
What? I didn't
Yeah,
know that.
it was, yeah.
Wow, cool.
At least a part of it was. I mean,
Sure, that's right.
but yeah, I remember that now. Yeah. How about you, Jimmy?
A Few Good Men is really a great movie. I mean, that's
Hmm.
him and all the folks in that. But I'll always have a soft spot for Risky Business. I mean, to me, it was just a fun movie back in the day. So I'll pick that one.
Okay.
Very
There,
cool.
sounds like a plan to me. Well, talked a little bit about one person's history in Tulsa, and Grace, you uncovered a little something about a piece of Tulsa history that somebody possibly could own.
Yeah, absolutely. So something interesting I got to learn about this week for World of Homes is that the home of the famed Tulsa artist and designer Ada Robinson is now up for sale for the first time in almost 50 years. Robinson was really kind of renowned for being just a huge patron of the Tulsa art scene and also for her contributions to Boston Avenue Church. So she just has a lot of history here and is really like a renowned figure in Tulsa. And so this is her personal home that's up for sale. And it's almost 100 years old, and it was built for her by two of her most famous art students when she was a teacher at Central High School, the architects Bruce Goff and Joseph Coberling. So this Saturday we'll kind of have like a look inside the home so everyone can see what it really looks like inside. And it was constructed very much in like an Art Deco style, so it still contains a lot of its original features. Like there's a conversation pit in the living room, which I think is really cool, and a lot of really interesting light fixtures and some stained glass and stuff. So yeah, it's a really cool thing, and I'll be really interested to see who becomes the next owner.
Well, Bruce Goff also designed the Spotlight Theater at about the same time. I was curious, and there are some vague correlations between those two buildings and how they look. So, something else came to mind, but it slipped by. And Jimmy, you looked like you had something to contribute.
No, I'm good. I respect Grace's knowledge on this subject, and I'm okay.
What was like 100 years? Oh well, it was a fleeting thought in my head, so it was in an unusual place that ran away and hid.
You wanted us to pull our money together and buy the residence. Is that correct?
Well, is it? You say it's 100 years old and has it been kept up to date or?
Yeah, yeah. The owner who is selling it now, I believe his name is Thomas Thixton, and he's a former architect, and he was actually a student of Bruce Goff's at the University of Oklahoma while he was teaching there. So he really has like a reverence for this kind of architecture and wanted to move into the house like specifically for that reason. So he did a really great job of upkeeping it and making sure it's move-in ready. So it still looks pretty good considering how old it is.
And I remembered what I thought of. It's absolutely worthless, but I do remember. You mentioned that there was a conversation pit in the living room.
Uh-huh.
In one of the last things that Bruce Goff designed, unfortunately, it was destroyed by fire some years ago, was a place in Bartlesville called Shinnon Khan. And one of the things about it was the conversation pit in the middle of the thing. So it's odd that, or it's kind of interesting that one of his first residential constructions and one of his last feature the same.
Yeah.
Okay, like I said, absolutely worthless, but it was in my mind. So speaking of buildings, we'll have a story this Sunday about the Tulsa PAC, which the city recently approved a $5.5 million package from the city's basically some of the funding that the city received because of the COVID pandemic to try to fix up a lot of the behind the scenes areas of the building, which are greatly in need of repairs. it may not be something that they've done a very good job about keeping the front of the house that the patrons see in good repair. But when the staff members refer to one area as the stairway to hell and another is the ramp of death, you figure that they probably need to do some fixing. So we'll talk about that and the pause, and also the fact that we may at some point not too far in the future need to look at building an entirely new performing arts center, because I mean this year is its 45th year, and for a place that has 250,000 people come through it just as guests every year, not to mention all of the backstage people, it's had a rough life. So that's what we've got. That's what we've got coming up.
What was Stairway to Hell or Ramp of Death an Indiana Jones movie? Because I think I missed those two.
Those were going to be direct to video sequels.
Okay.
But I know whereof they speak when they refer to the Ramp of Death, and it's precipitate. I'll give you that. But anyway, so let's see what else have you got coming up for us, Jimmy?
Well, if we wrote about every music artist that had a Bob Dylan connection or cited Bob Dylan as an influence, we'd be talking all day long because he was so influential. But one act in particular has very solid Bob Dylan ties, at least three that I can think of in terms of recording. But Old Crow Medicine Show is coming to Kane's Ballroom on Sunday. That's the band I'm speaking of. And I'll just, as a teaser, I'm going to write about them on Friday. I interviewed Ketch Secor, the vocalist for Old Crow Medicine Show. And just to give you one of those connections, the 1973 movie, Pat Garrett and Billy the Kid, Bob Dylan was in the movie, wrote the soundtrack for the movie, and barely started a song, like a little tiny snippet of a song, maybe a few seconds. Okay, when Ketch Secor was a teenager, he got a bootleg copy of this unfinished Bob Dylan song and said, "Oh, I'll just finish it for him," which takes some guts to do, I'll finish this Bob Dylan song. But he finished the song and it turned out to be Wagon Wheel, which is the signature song for Old Crow Medicine Show. And later, Darius Rucker made it a #1 country song when he covered it. And but that's one Old Crow Medicine Show tied to Bob Dylan. There are others, but we talked for a long time about his appreciation for Dylan. And I said, are you going to visit the Bob Dylan Center when you're here? And he said, well, of course. When they visited here and the Woody Guthrie Center first opened, as soon as he got off the bus, he went straight to the Woody Guthrie Center. I'm sure it'll be the same thing.
Mm-hmm. And if I remember correctly, when they were doing promos for the Ken Burns series on country music, Wagon Wheel was the song that was used for that. So yeah, that's gained a life far beyond a snippet off of the Pat Garrett and Billy the Kid soundtrack, which I must confess is the first Bob Dylan record I ever had.
Huh.
And it's kind of odd, but Knocking on Heaven's Door was the hit, and has been for several other people as well.
Yeah.
So, well, speaking of landmarks and old homes, the Harweldon Mansion, June 8th and 9th, is going to be the site of an unusual production called Gatsby Redux. It's by a Los Angeles-based dance company called, let me get this right, Mixed Emotion Theatrics. And it is going to be performed on the grounds at Harweldon. And it is not so much a retelling of The Great Gatsby as it is an evocation of the story and the mood of the book that'll be done around the grounds of Harweldon. That's part of Corgus Productions' Summer Heat Invitational Dance Festival. So that'll be June 8th and 9th at Harwelden. The performance will be outside, but inside there will be refreshments for those who wish. And if you are in the mood for food in the next couple of weeks, we cover culinary taste high and low in the next few. We did a story about a new place in Jenks called Chicken Cone, which does weird, that takes the chicken and waffles idea, turns it into something you could probably eat while driving. And then we will review Il Seme, I believe it's pronounced, which is the new Italian fine dining establishment that the women behind Farm Bar and Living Kitchen have created in downtown Tulsa. It's pretty darn good. If there was a way that I could have snuck out with a quart of their marinara sauce, I would have done it. So those are things to look for in the coming days and weeks. June is a very, very busy month with festivals and the like. Our current issue Wednesday weekend section lists a lot of the fine arts and music festivals that are going on around the area, from the Chautauqua presentations to the OKM music in Bartlesville to Juneteenth. So check that out. As we say, either online at tulsaworld.com or pick up a copy at your favorite convenience store, supermarket, and wherever fine reading material is sold. Well, I think that will do us for this week. On behalf of Grace has more. I forgot. Grace has much more.
Thing. Sorry, I feel like we've been talking for a while, but I did want to mention my World of Homes feature for this.
Okay, my apologies.
No, you're good. Totally fine. But I just have a story kind of covering all of the upcoming events that are happening at the Tulsa Botanic Garden for June. They've got a lot of really fun stuff planned, like workshops for how to make your own succulent bowls using plants like aloe vera and haworthia, as well as a workshop for how to make your very own fairy garden. And something that they're doing that I think is really interesting is they're hosting a plant sale in honor of National Pollinator Week. They'll be selling a variety of plants like hibiscus and different types of milkweeds that not only look beautiful, but they also serve as a food source for pollinators like bumblebees and butterflies and hummingbirds that play a really important part in our ecosystem. So they'll have those plants available for purchase so that people can take them home and start planting their very own pollinator gardens. So for more information about their June events, you can look for my story in Saturday's Tulsa World. They've got like a whole comprehensive list, so you can check that out.
And on that note, we should probably conclude before I mess up again.
No.
On behalf of Grace Wood and Jimmy Trammell, we want to thank you for hanging around with us for this time, and we will gladly see you later.
Behave.
Bye.